Hey, good morning, guys. Hope you're having a good Monday. You're back to school this week. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I had some good times with your family over the last week as you're still stuck inside. So, this week, as many of you know, is something called Holy Week or Passion Week. This week is the week that leads up to Good Friday, Resurrection Sunday, and it's the one where the church celebrates the death and resurrection of Jesus. Yesterday was the triumphal entry. It was Palm Sunday. If you guys want, there's actually a video on YouTube. If you guys want to click up here right now, it'll take you to the service from yesterday at our church, where I spoke on the triumphal entry and talked about what Palm Sunday is. So this week, most of our devotional videos are going to be focused on the 24-hour period that lead up to the crucifixion. We're going to talk about Jesus' arrest when he's before the high priest. We're going to talk about when he is before Pilate, and finally we're going to talk about the crucifixion on Friday. But today we're actually going to rewind. Now we and we are going to talk about what happens on the day before the triumphal entry. So today we're going to talk about this passage right here. So in John 12, we see Jesus being anointed by in Bethany. We see in this passage that Mary, who is the same Mary that we talked about last week, anointed Jesus. So let us hit pause on this video, and you guys can open up to John 12 and read it. Okay, so in this passage, we see Mary, who is the sister of Martha and Lazarus, who is the Lazarus from the raising Lazarus from the grave that we talked about last week. This passage is intense. I just want to talk a little bit about the ointment, or the fragrant ointment that she broke out and she broke over Jesus. And this ointment, it says expensive ointment. She had about a pound of it. So it's expensive in general, and she has a lot of it. And she breaks it over Jesus. It would have been in this container, and she would have broken it open. It would have gone all over Jesus, and it would have been strong. If any of you have ever walked through a perfume and cologne aisle at like the Bay or something like that, you know how intense of a smell that is. Or you've walked past Bath and Body Works and have been smacked in the face with that smell. So just imagine this fragrant ointment filling this room, like taking like 5 or 6 bottles of the same cologne and smashing them on the floor in like an enclosed room. Imagine how intense that fragrance would be. It would be overwhelming. And she anointed his feet, and then she used her hair again to wipe his feet. And just another note about Mary. Mary, every time we see her, she is at the feet of Jesus. She's never standing. She's never just hanging out. She's always sitting at his feet. And I think is just a really interesting thing to note about her personality, about her desire for the Lord. She was always sitting at his feet. And then we have the second element of this story, which is Judas Iscariot. He's already getting ready to betray Jesus, and I could almost see this as the final thing that put him over the edge. It's important to note that he was a thief. Like Judas was regularly stealing from the disciples. Like he had the coin purse to buy everything, and he was frequently, reaching into the cookie jar, so to speak, and stealing the money for himself. So when he's saying we could have sold this and given it to the poor, he's actually thinking, this is an opportunity for me to get some more money. So this isn't him being like, oh yeah, we could give it to the poor. This was very much him like, I can get more money. And then Jesus says in verse 7, leave her alone so that she may keep it. She may keep it for the day of my burial. For the poor you always have with you, but you do not always have with me. And this is the reason I want to talk about this verse today. So in the coming days, so this is 6 days before Passover, as verse 1 says. This means it's 6 days before Jesus' arrest and 7 days before his crucifixion, which means this is the start of the this is the start of the 7-day period leading up to his crucifixion. And I think that's significant. I think it's significant that it is exactly a week before he was going to be crucified. Secondly, that sort of ointment and that amount of it does not leave you very fast, especially if you're not able to, shower 6 times. That smell would always be on him. And she may not have understood, she may not have known that he was going to his grave, but he did. And this ointment was used to preserve the dead, so they don't smell and things like that. But it was traditionally, you would anoint dead bodies with this ointment. You would prepare their bodies, you would wrap them in cloths and stuff like that. But as well, this smell, this intense nard smell, whatever that actually smells like, would have been on Jesus for those 6-7 days leading up to his crucifixion. Not necessarily every single one, but a lot of the time he would be smelling that, and he would think back to the sacrifice that Mary made. And as we go into this week, specifically as the next 4 days, we talk about the events that lead up to Jesus' crucifixion. I wanted to start off this week by talking about the anointing that Mary gave Jesus. I want to talk about the sacrifice that she made. I want to talk about the love that she had for Jesus, that she displayed in this passage. And as we're approaching Easter, as we're approaching the cross and the sacrifice that Jesus made for us because of his love, I want to start this week with talking and emphasizing the importance of us loving God with everything that we have. Not just the small things, and not even just the big things, but everything. Jesus wants it all. Doesn't matter what it is. Had this not been an expensive ointment, but it was what she had, that's what would have mattered. But she wanted to give her best. She didn't want to be like, oh, well, I have like a little of this like cheap stuff, or like this takes a little bit of time. She wanted to give her all. She wanted to give her best to Jesus. And as we spend time this week, I want to encourage you to give your best to Jesus. Give it all and watch him move through your sacrifice and through what you give. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. I'm excited to have you guys along this week, as well as jumping into Bible studies with junior youth on Tuesdays at 3:30 and senior youth on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. As well, if you haven't watched last week's videos, the playlist will be right here. If you haven't watched yesterday's sermon, it'll be right here. And again, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click up here. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great Monday.